Each Loki episode gets better and better every week, but wreaking havoc in the TVA as well. As we moving towards finale, we are having more questions instead of answers. And that's what I love about Loki series. So in episode 4, we finally get to see Ravonna Renslayer past. Everyone is back in the TVA. Victor Timely got spaghettified and the whole TVA just got exploded. We're just going to break down quickly the important moments from the episode and then we will go to our theories at the end. What's going on, geeks? Of course, I'm your host Sam, and things in the Loki are pretty messed up. We got so much to talk about, so without further ado, shall we? So this episode had so much to unfold. We get a glimpse of He Who Remains at Ravonna Renslayer at the end of time, where He Who Remains pulled off Protocol 42 to remove the memories of not just Renslayer but the whole TVA workers.
Erase her memories.
Are you sure?
Erase all their memories.
If you say so.
We are at the episode 4 and it's still not clear why he had removed everyone's memories. We are sticking to our possible explanation since episode 1 that every worker in the TVA wasn't kidnapped from their respective timelines but recruited by He Who Remains. And he promised all of them everlasting peace, rather to their respective timelines or at the end of time, just like Mobius said in the first season.
No more Nexus events, just order, and we meet in peace at the end of time.
Which simply isn't possible with their memories. At that time, they knew they are from different timelines, who they have been destroying in order to keep the flow of second timeline. After winning the multiverse war, He Who Remains needed TVA workers to prevent every Nexus event to keep second timeline intact forever. Hence, to maintain the order, he had to remove their memories. We will talk more about Ravonna Renslayer later on. Let's move on to Obi and Victor Timely Giant Paradox. So Victor Timely learned everything from Obi TVA guidebook, which Obi wrote by learning everything from 19th century inventor Victor Timely in the first place.
If your work is based on his work and his work is based on your work,
Exactly which came first.
It's like a snake eating its own tail.
So Ouroboros itself represents symbol of snake eating its own tail. It represents infinity. The end is also setting up its beginning. It's kind of simple, so whenever someone tampers with space and time continuum, it creates infinite spatial paradoxes and time loop, which result in reliving the moment ever and ever again forever, with losing the reality of which event happened first. So we don't know Obi actually learned from Victor Timely first, or Victor Timely first found the TVA guidebook and learned from Obi. But Obi's character is still very shady to me. He have his memories right there, and he never talked about He Who Remains or any gang variant he ever encountered. He also didn't recognize Victor Timely first, but remember he specifically mentioned Victor Timely name that he learned everything from Victor Timely, not He Who Remains or gang, which also solidified the theory of that Victor Timely is somehow going to become He Who Remains at some point. We will talk about Obi shady plans in another video. And this scene is spooky. Whoa.
Mr. Ouroboros, if anyone can, it's you and me.
Sylvie also realized that this partnership may lead to very creation of He Who Remains. Obi may help Victor Timely turn into He Who Remains at the end. Don't confuse with his friendly attitude and not threatening persona. Thanks in part to Ke Hu Kwan's performance, he could easily be a misdirect. Also, poor Mobius couldn't get to eat some pie sadly. In every episode they mention about Mobius' timeline existence, and I don't know when they are going to explore this, but it is going to be very excited to see Mobius in the timeline. Now let's move on to the conversation of Loki and Sylvie. While trying to convince Sylvie, Loki believes that TVA needs to evolve. He believes that they can run the TVA at least better than He Who Remains. He also gave an example of Thor, referring to the events of first Thor movie, that how he evolved after his visit to Earth. I love how this series keep mentioning previous event from Loki's life to remind us again and again where Loki exactly came from and how he has developed so far. For the first time, Loki knows his glorious purpose. But with all of that in that moment, he also felt very confident about everything. He still thinks he's the smartest one and most suited to rule the TVA. And we haven't seen this attitude of Loki in a long time.
we are gods.
I mean, it really reminded me of old Loki traits. I can't shake the feelings. is the little bit villain side of Loki is still there.
We're all villains here. We've all done horrible, terrible, horrific things.
Speaking of villains, Miss Minute is real evil. While her partnership with Ravonna, they both tries to bring dogs and our hunters to fight for them. But General Dogs believes in the greater good, and she knows Ravonna is just power hungry and she only wants to serve us. So General Dogs refuse, and it was really a great scene when all of Dogs' hunters stand by her and dies with her, except X5 who chose to side with Ravonna. While killing him, look at that evil smile of Miss Minutes. She was enjoying it.
Man, girls are so scary.
Raphael Cassel acting was masterpiece there. Through only his face reactions, we actually got the glimpse of what's actually going on in front of him. With Miss Minutes taking the control of TVA and taking Victor Timely, we get to see the moment we have been waiting for since episode 1. As many of us predicted, it was Loki who cloned himself from back, and this gives him more confidence that he is in control and knows exactly what he has been doing. To take control from Miss Minutes, Obi reboots the system, which allowed Loki and Sylvie use their magic. This is also going to help them save the TVA after explosion. We will discuss about that at the end of this video. Sylvie enchant X5 and Loki prone Ravonna. By shutting down, Miss Minutes really pull off her final words in a frightening manner.
Victor, I need to tell you. I need to tell you. You'll never be him.
I think this is what pushes Victor Timely to save the loom at the end. Loki and Sylvie grab Victor and run back to the loom as it is on the brink of destruction. Scanning his temporal aura, the blast doors finally open, and Victor decides to be the one to launch his multiplier into the loom. He puts on the suit that once Mobius wore in episode 1. I love Victor Timely there, and it was a huge heroic moment. But they have been too late. The temporal radiation destabilizes the loom and turns Victor Timely into spaghetti. At the end, TVA explodes. Boom! I think this is the biggest cliffhanger masterpiece acting in this very moment. This whole episode, he seemed very confident that he knows exactly that what he needs to do, what's happening, and what's he going to do. But at that moment, he just freezes and couldn't comprehend where everything did go wrong. Infinity War in the MCU. With that down, let's move on to the theories, shall we? To be honest, I never did saw this coming. I mean, I expected that TVA is going to be destroyed, but I thought it will happen in the finale and it's going to be rebuilt by He Who Remains again. So what actually happened here? Is TVA really gone? In short answer, I think it's going to be destroyed, besides the effort of Loki and team. So what's going to happen in the next 2 episodes if they all are dead and they are going to live their normal lives on their respective timelines? We saw Casey from trailer footage in some mining area or prison. So this proves that they will end up living their normal lives on their respective timelines. But it's not that simple. What is going to happen with Loki and Sylvie? They're not going to back on their respective timelines. Remember, rebooting the system allowed Loki and Sylvie to use their magic. Loki was able to reach the loom without being spaghettified, as we can see here from this footage of the trailer. Maybe it's because of his magic he survives the radiation. And also, Loki time slipping is not done yet. Remember, Sylvie still has He Who Remains tempad. That made Loki's time slipping in the TVA possible. We saw him slipping across the timeline, not just in the TVA but outside the TVA in the bright timeline from the trailer footage. This must be the timeline of Mobius, of course. So Loki, through time slipping, may going to warn their boss selves so they could do some changes to save the TVA. But you know what? It's not going to happen. Because if it is, we could have already seen future Loki interference with the present one. Because it's all one big paradox. There are numbers of possibilities here. Maybe he contacted them, but we haven't seen that moment exactly. Like the moment where episode ends, maybe the future version of Loki jumped in front of them and told them to use He Who Remains tempad and go in the past to do things differently. Which also explains this footage from the trailer.
What I'm about to tell you is going to be hard to believe. Again.
He specifically used the term again, which means it's going to happen multiple times. And by jumping into the past and changing the things, he may will end up again in that right exact moment of episode 4 ending to told the present version of Loki to jump again where everything and everyone about to be exploded. It's just like Loki pruned himself to save his present self that jumped into the future. And we will get this moment somehow. I believe here Loki is using Mike to talk to himself who's inside the loom trying to fix everything. We don't know exactly what's going on. Anything could happen, but we do know that Ravonna is going to end up in the void, as we saw in the trailer, where she might get her hands on Elias. And what happened to Victor Timely? Is he really dead? I'm still sticking to that. He is actually he who remains, and let's see how the story will unfold. Still didn't figure out how Loki series is going to end, but saving the TVA is not a possibility. It is going to be destroyed one way or another. Imagine if this happens, they can simply stop Nathaniel Richards from 31st century that later on becomes He Who Remains to jump across the multiverse and make contact with other universes, because everything started from that. And then we don't even need Avengers the Kang Dynasty anymore. Again and again, guys, it's a big loop. First variant of Kang jumped and made contact with other universes, which leads to the multiversal war. Then first variants become He Who Remains and ended the multiversal wars. Erase all of his variants from even being born. Then he dies, timelines start to branch again, and at some point he will be born again and jump again. And
an infinite amount of B. Start another multiversal war, and I just end up right back here anyways.
It will happen again and again and again. I'm also working on video to dive deep in this concept that how everything is going to happen again. So stay tuned for that and subscribe to the channel. That's all, geeks. Share your thoughts about this in the comment section below and send your theories about Loki season 2 finale in my way on Instagram at @SamThoseGeeks. I'm Sam, and I will see you in the next video. Till that, stay geek for all time, always.